Thank you to Dan Schneider. I love you.
Thank you, Nickelodeon. Thank you, Dan Schneider.
Watching over the past 2 nights was very difficult, me facing my past behaviors.
Dan Schneider says, or rather was the man behind popular children's shows such as The Amanda Show, Victorious, and Drake and Josh.
Nickelodeon's Golden Boy, the mastermind behind hits like iCarly and Drake and Josh, gold-rated shows, and a meteoric career. We're talking about Dan Schneider, and this is more than just a nostalgic trip down memory lane. You remember seeing Dan acting jolly and carefree with your favorite childhood stars, and his career seems nothing less than a dazzling success story. But behind the scenes, the reality is starkly different.
Bosses, and then their bosses, and then their bosses. And they're approving all of this stuff. Okay?
Numerous allegations have surfaced from former child actors and crew members who worked under him. They paint a picture of him as a man who stands accused of engaging in racist behavior, sexual misconduct, harassment, and verbal abuse, contributing to a toxic and abusive work environment.
Well, he was walking around with dollar bills. He was telling the kids, you know, come out, take photos of your feet and give you $1. Like it was like some funny hoax.
In today's video, from his rise to the heights of fame to his downfall because of allegations of predatory behavior, we will trace it all. Dan Schneider started off as an actor, just a regular dude with big dreams, and ended up becoming a giant in creating shows that pretty much shaped a whole generation. It all began with Head of the Class, a show that put him on the map. He wasn't just any actor, this role was his golden ticket to the big leagues of Hollywood. Soon after, he teamed up with Brian Robbins, his buddy from the show. They hit a major turning point when they got the chance to host the very first Nickelodeon Kids' Choice Awards. Talk about a game changer. Now, it wasn't a smooth ride straight into Nickelodeon. They had some hurdles to jump over, but Dan and Brian eventually got there, and boy, did they leave their mark. They came up with All That, a show that totally knocked it out of the park, kicking off a winning streak with hits like Kenan and Kel and The Amanda Show. But it wasn't all high fives and victory laps. Dan hit some bumps along the way. Not every show was a smash hit, like Guys Like Us, which didn't really go anywhere. And stepping away from All That sure was a tough moment. Yet he didn't let that stop him. He went on to create super popular shows like Drake and Josh, Zoe 101, Victorious, Henry Danger, and iCarly. These shows weren't just shows, they became a part of our lives. However, it hasn't always been smooth sailing. Dan's career has had its share of drama and controversy. Even with a few shadows cast over his achievements, no one can deny the massive impact he's had. He knew what made a sitcom tick and created stuff that kids absolutely loved. Amidst the diverse reception and controversies surrounding him, to this day, Dan Schneider stands tall as a titan in the world of children's entertainment, and that's something that's gonna stick around for a long, long time. Before the whispers and headlines about Dan Schneider in the present, let's throw it back to his acting days in the 80s. In the movie Better Off Dead, Dan played Ricky, a character that, well, wasn't exactly everybody's favorite.
He's got more going than you do.
Ricky was that stereotypical obnoxious guy in teen movies who just doesn't know when to quit. He made audiences cringe, trying way too hard to win over Monique, the French exchange student, to the point where she calls him out for his non-stop over-the-top advances. What's eerie about this role was that it sort of echoes the real-life accusations that would surface about Schneider decades later. He seemed to get a kick out of playing Ricky, even bragging about the recognition he got for the part. Despite Ricky being known for being quite the creep, it's a reaction that, in hindsight, feels a bit off, especially given the character's behavior. Fast forward to 2018 and suddenly there's a storm brewing around Dan Schneider, the guy who could once do no wrong in the world of kids' TV. Out of nowhere, Deadline dropped this bombshell, revealing staff members stepping up with some serious complaints about him. Viacom CBS, the big company in charge, took it seriously and started digging into what was happening behind the scenes. Reports were painting Dan as more than just difficult to work with. They suggested he might have been really harsh with people on set. In March 2018, a joint statement was announced. Schneider and Nickelodeon were parting ways. Since several Schneider's Bakery projects are wrapping up, both sides agreed that this is a natural time for Nickelodeon and Schneider's Bakery to pursue other opportunities and projects. The statement continued. The statement concluded, Dan and his Schneider's Bakery team have created a string of lasting, groundbreaking hits over the years, including iCarly, Drake and Josh, Victorious, Kenan and Kel, and the current #1 hit show on Nickelodeon, Henry Danger. We thank Dan and Schneider's Bakery producers, executives, and social media team for their immeasurable contributions to Nickelodeon, and we wish them the best in their future endeavors. And Dan and Schneider's Bakery are proud of their work together with Nickelodeon and will always remain big fans of the network. Fast forward to 2022, and Jeanette McCurdy, a young star who graced the screens of countless childhoods, released a memoir. In it, she recounted her teen years on shows helmed by the creator, a thinly veiled reference to Schneider. McCurdy stated that the creator had pressured her into drinking alcohol while she was underage, yelled at her during a kissing scene with her iCarly co-star Nathan Kress, and explicitly requested that bikinis be included in a wardrobe fitting. Then there's Alexa Nicholas, known from another one of Schneider's shows, who takes her fight right to the doorstep of Nickelodeon. The same year, she stood outside Nickelodeon HQ, her protest sign a stark indictment. The creator of childhood trauma. She also mentioned that Schneider's set was traumatizing and alleged that the show creator yelled at her in a conference room with Nickelodeon executives when she was 13. Daniela Monet, another young actress who'd shone under Schneider's spotlight, also spoke out and described feeling sexualized during filming. She also pointed a finger at the writer's room, a testosterone-fueled echo chamber where these ideas festered. The once celebrated mastermind is now a figure of controversy. Nickelodeon's golden boy isn't all that golden after all. After the docuseries Quiet on Set hit the screens, it wasn't just whispers anymore. Stars we grew up watching started coming forward with some pretty tough stories about their time on set. Angelique Bates, known from All That, opened up in an interview with The Blast about the not-so-glamorous side of showbiz. She shared this one time when Dan Schneider, the producer, lost it and yelled at her. It got to the point where other people, including the episode's guest director, stepped in, and Schneider ended up saying sorry afterwards.
That was wrong, and that was because, I was an inexperienced producer, I was immature, wouldn't happen today, but I'm just really sorry it happened. Yeah.
Angelique didn't just have to deal with that, but she also talked about being bullied by other cast members. It's pretty sad to hear that the place she worked at, where she should have felt secure, turned out to be pretty harmful to her.
I was only 12 years old, and that's when my nightmare began. I was physically, mentally, emotionally abused in front of the producers.
When asked about Quiet on Set, Angelique decided not to go with it, saying past experiences had left a mark. Michael Bauer also dropped 2 bombshells on his YouTube channel, recounting the manipulative tactics of a Nickelodeon executive who showered him and a friend with gifts and theme park trips. He claimed the very executive who allegedly preyed on him may have been instrumental in hiring Dan Schneider. The second bombshell shattered a long-held denial. Michael alleged that Brian Peck, the dialogue coach accused of abusing Drake Bell and previously defended by Schneider, had also exhibited inappropriate behavior towards him on a different project. Was this a pattern, a twisted pipeline of power and exploitation, or was a creepy boys' club being operated at Nickelodeon? Amy Berg also shared her own tough experiences from when she worked as Dan Schneider's assistant. She laid it all out in a statement, and what she said was pretty startling. Amy explained that while she didn't see any inappropriate physical behavior, Dan was still unbelievable. She called him a total nightmare to work for. He was the kind of boss who messed with your head, and because of the unbearable stress, she ended up having real scary health problems, like panic attacks and a heart condition that was so bad she needed surgery. Working for Dan took so much out of her that she felt like she lost a whole decade, the years that should have been some of the best of her life. She wrapped up her statement by talking about the deep impact those times had on her. It's heavy stuff, and she's so determined to put it all behind her that she's not even planning to watch Quiet on Set. To Amy, there's no point in going back through all that mess, and she definitely isn't interested in defending Dan after everything that happened. In 2018, the curtain came down on the long-standing partnership between Dan Schneider and Nickelodeon. Schneider spoke up to say that the buzz about his bad behavior, the sort of stuff that was reported by Deadline and other outlets, had nothing to do with the breakup. But then a video popped up on YouTube where Schneider tries to apologize without really tackling the full scope of what he's been accused of. He admits to some of his actions, recognizing they were out of line and saying he feels sorry.
Good with words like you are. And would you help me with my speech for the judge? And I said, of course. And I did.
Schneider says he's had a tough time facing up to the things he's done in the past, especially after watching the docu-series that shoved a mirror in front of his face. He talks about seeing the hurt he's caused and expresses deep regret. He wishes he could turn back time, be a better person, listen more, and make sure everyone who worked with him had a positive experience. This brings us back to Amy Berg's side of the story, which paints a dark picture of her time as Schneider's assistant, a stark contrast to his recent reflective words. Berg describes a part of her life filled with stress and health concerns directly connected to Schneider's actions, a period that she feels robbed her of her 20s. And while Schneider now admits to some of his mistakes and the pain he caused, one can't help but wonder if his remorse is genuine. Is he truly feeling the weight of the hurt he's inflicted, or is he trying to patch up a public image that's taken some heavy hits? It's a question that might circle in the minds of those who have followed his career and controversies. Schneider's representative also made a statement to Variety regarding the series. They stated that if there were any actual problems with the scenes that some people are now considering sexualizing, they would have been taken down. In the documentary series, some people note Schneider's habit of asking employees, many of whom are female, for massages while on set. In response to massage allegations, his team released a statement saying, Dan deeply regrets asking anyone for neck massages. Though they happened in public settings, he knows this was highly inappropriate and would never happen again. Dan Schneider was once Nickelodeon's star player, the man behind the laughs that would define childhoods. He built worlds like iCarly and Drake and Josh that were more than just TV shows. They were a special part of growing up for so many of us. On screen, it was all about fun and good times, but off screen, well, it wasn't the cheerful scene we all imagined. This isn't just gossip. As the truth comes out, it's pretty clear that Dan Schneider's glory days are a thing of the past. Now, when people mention his name, it's the controversy that takes center stage, a far cry from the warm, fuzzy nostalgia his sitcoms used to bring. It all boils down to a tough question that's as old as time. Can we ever really split the art from the artist? Or do the creator's actions taint the work forever? What's your take on this? What should we dig into next? Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit that like button, share with your friends, and make sure you've subscribed so you don't miss out on our next video.